Hello Team FD and welcome back to Winners and Losers, where today we'll be dissecting the Euros 2020 final. A final that of course did not go England's way. Joining me on this very solemn morning, it's Zach Jelab. How are you, sir?
Sad. Not too bad. I thought it'd be worse. I had a little cry yesterday, about 10 minutes after the game. I think the last time I did that was when England lost to Croatia. But yeah, not too bad. I mean, what a month it's been, mate. What a month it's been.
I love how in touch you are with your emotions. Very honest there, Zach. One of the beautiful things about you, mate, and one of the beautiful things about this show is that it's sponsored by Manscaped. This is going to be the last Euros 2020 Manscaped plug on Winners and Losers. If you want to use our discount code to get 20% off their stellar range of products, use said code that's on screen right now or visit the link in the description below. A huge thank you to Manscaped for supporting us throughout Euro 2020 and to you guys at home that have bought Manscaped product using the Football Daily discount code, because that money does go directly into funding your favourite shows here on Football Daily. Now, before we dissect the game, before we break it down, Zach, which we're going to do very quickly because it, of course, didn't go our way, I do want to deal with some negatives that have emerged this morning. Now, a large number of fans, England fans that is, seem to treat international games like one big stag do. And while that energy, when channeled in a positive way, can lead to a spectacular atmosphere, it more often than not ends in embarrassment and shame. And that was the case after the game yesterday. So a very vocal but very visible minority, not behaving in a way that is commensurate with the standards that the England squad have upheld throughout this whole tournament, I would say. And obviously the online abuse, deplorable as well. A lot of it has been identified as coming from abroad, as Gareth Southgate stipulated in his press conference this morning. But what about that mural that was defaced in Manchester of Marcus Rashford hours after he missed a penalty? Just totally mind-blowing. It's numbing. It makes me fall out of love with the international game. However, that is what these people want. They want to cause friction, don't they? They get off on this sort of attention. So we won't let them win. And I do think that while we, at Football Daily don't have any answers how to rectify this on a large scale, I did think that Gary Neville made an interesting point about the government on Sky this morning. Let's have a little listen to that.
Well, I'm just reading your breaking news. It says the PM condemns racist abuse of England players. Is that the same Prime Minister that a few weeks ago? I mean, Gareth Southgate and the players a few weeks ago, about 5 days on the trot, told us that they were taking the knee to promote equality and it was against racism. The Prime Minister said that it was okay for the population of this country to boo those players who were trying to promote equality and defend against racism. It starts at the very top. And so for me, I wasn't surprised in the slightest that I woke up this morning to those headlines. I expected it the minute that the three players that missed. And, the fact of the matter is, there is an issue, obviously, in football. There is an issue in society where we feel it's acceptable, basically, to criticise players for sporting actions because of the colour of their skin. But I have to say, accepting and validating that players who take the knee, like I was saying, were promoting equality, inclusion and defending against racism, is coming from the very top. And, that, you know full well that if your parents do something, your children will follow.
So what do you think to Neville's observation, guys? Let me know in the comments below. Zach, before we move on to some stats and match facts, have you got anything you'd like to throw in, big man?
Yeah, I think it's just kind of reiterating what you've said. We've had such a fantastic month of following England and supporting the boys every single step, and I think you may have saw slight scenes like this when the Scotland game happened, and things didn't quite go our way. Then obviously losing a final, losing it on penalties, is disappointing. Of course it is, but it does not warrant the reaction that we've seen out on the streets, where people of colour are scared to go to the shops in case of things happening, or to go to a game in case of things happening, or to go on social media. 19-year-old Saka, who stepped up for his country in one of the biggest scenarios possible, put the country on his back, and of course he's unfortunately missed and has to deal with those kind of comments online, and it's ridiculous, it's unwarranted, it's awful, and I really, really, really hope it gets gets better. Because I also will say as well, there have been a lot of positive support for the players online as well and on social media. But yeah, hopefully it'll get better. And obviously we've got the World Cup next year in October, December time. And we'll do well then.
Yeah, I don't know how we address this culture, because it is becoming a thing where there's just anger is becoming synonymous with the England fan base when things don't go our way. And it is a repeated pattern of behaviour, and it's more than just a really, really small minority, which is often a phrase banded about, isn't it? It is more than that.
I think sometimes the issue, sorry to jump in, sometimes the issue as well, because people will be like, oh, they're not football fans, they're not England fans, and that's just kind of passing the buck. They are. They support England. They support football. They come to the games to watch it. And saying that they're not fans just makes it just kind of passes the buck to say, oh, it's not our problem. It is our problem, and it's something that we have to sort out. As I said, for a month we've seen the great side of football, bringing people together, and then that has all kind of boiled up and exploded into this horribleness that we've seen after the game. And like, I don't know about you, I was out. Watching it with friends, and it was kind of like you just wanted to get home quite quick. Like, you didn't want to be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, but to be perfectly honest, like, some of the things I was hearing and seeing, I felt like, okay, this is why I feel an awful lot closer to my club a lot of the time, because I don't associate this anger with my club team when they lose, or this level of just white hot hatred. So yeah, quite disenfranchising to see. Like you said, a lot of normal fans just going about their day, who took the loss in stride, who will be, there to support the boys in Qatar at 2022, whose behaviour is absolutely fine. Right, let's move into the game then, Zach, because I feel like we're going down a bit of a hole here. So break down Italy's performance for me. I'll take England, and then we'll sort of talk about the future and what it holds at the end of the show.
For sure, yeah. Italy now 34 games unbeaten after beating England on penalties in our own backyard. By the end, it was kind of hard to deny that they weren't the better side. It was 2.2 to 0.6 on XG in favour of them. And it was unsurprising, given the Azzurri limited England to just 6 shots, of which only 2 were on target. Once the Italians weathered a first tough 20 minutes, their superior passing really became apparent. By the end of the game, they completed 820 passes compared to England's 420. More than half of these passes as well were completed in the middle third, as players like Jorginho and Verratti really got a hold of the game for Italy and got them back into it. Man of the match, though, had to be Chiellini. He won more aerial duels and made more clearances than any other Italian player. And I think before this tournament, a lot of people were talking about his age. He turns 37 next month. He was only 2 years ago when he ruptured his ACL. And he has had a number of muscle problems over the last 3 years, including in the group stage of this tournament. Yet delivered a masterclass in the final. I actually think so. I think it was Doogie that mentioned before the tournament that Chiellini may be a little bit too old for it. Chiesa as well also deserves a special mention. He had 3 shots, 3 dribbles, and made 3 tackles. The guy pretty much dragged a muted Italy through the first 45, and when he got subbed off, I'm pretty sure every England fan was relieved. But take a look at this. There were some old Italian faces enjoying their win.
Yeah, let's move on to England then. And in the first 20 minutes, I thought the 3 lines were excellent. And Luke Shaw's goal came as a direct result to that reversion back to a 3-4-3, didn't it? So sort of justified starting in that shape at the very least. 1 fullback assisting the other. Harry Kane looked tremendously active in those opening stages, finding a lot of space between the lines. Sterling frequently running beyond him. I think that was evident in the build-up to the goal. So yeah, England started at a good pace, in a good shape. But by the end of the first half, there was an ominous feeling that, like you said, with those passing figures, Italy were wresting sort of control from England, particularly in the midfield area. And I feel like they stunted a lot of our progression in wide areas by playing a really aggressive high line, and you know what, deploying Chiellini in sort of a left-back berth and pushing Emerson on almost to keep Trippier deep in our half. And it worked a treat. They were much better at using the space, I thought, than England. And it was territorial torture, as I put out on Twitter, from sort of 50 to 60 minutes onwards. England actually didn't have a shot between the goal and the 55th minute as a demonstration of that. Wow. I thought it was also sort of reflected in the sheer amount of defensive work that Phillips and Rice got through, making a combined 12 tackles and interceptions between the pair. I mean, special mention to the forward thrust that Rice gave England's midfield in the 75 minutes that he played, completing 4 dribbles. I thought he came off maybe a little bit early. I know he looked tired. That might have been in the game plan. You know, when Henderson came on, the shape did change slightly to a sort of 4-1-4-1. And I get why he brought Henderson on, because he can exert more control when England are in possession, can't he? He's a very good passer, a bit of a metronome in that regard. But it didn't really pan out. But, you know, we have the gift of hindsight. But yeah, the further we got into the game, the more ragged we became on the ball. I think personified by Trippier's 43% pass accuracy when he came off. There was a lot of just lumping it long at the end, wasn't there? Moments where Maguire had to go aimlessly long towards the end, which is very uncharacteristic for him. It meant we posed a very limited threat in their final third. Harry Kane's first touch inside the box came during the penalty shootout. But yeah, I mean, we finished. I don't know what you think. We finished with Grealish and Sancho on the flanks. I'd like to have seen that a little bit earlier. I'm not saying I would have started them. It would have been a very brave decision to mix it up that much. And I think people that are intimating as much are taking the piss. But I think, yeah, our quicker players, our players who are better in transition, if we were going to play on the counter, needed 15 to 20 minutes to try and affect the game. And they were sort of given like 2 to 3, weren't they? A little bit dispiriting. Mason Mount didn't have his best game. 0 shots, 0 chances created, 0 tackles, dispossessed once. Obviously, other hot talking points, Zach, I want your opinion on this in just a second, but Saka on the 5th penalty, bringing Rashford and Sancho on so late, Henderson for Rice, which you've already touched upon. I mean, amongst that maelstrom of things I've just mentioned, what do you want to talk about the most? What thing pains you the most?
Less pains, but I think we probably do have to talk about the penalty shootout. And there's been a lot of talk about, obviously, Saka is 19 years old. Should he have been taking the 5th penalty? Or whether we should have had someone like Jack Grealish take a penalty? Was it right that Sancho and Rashford came on for that a minute or two just to take a penalty? And like, in terms of who took the penalties, I don't mind it. Like, I really don't. Like, a penalty shootout is so tough. It's so tough, and it's all about in the moment. Like, there was a lot of comments about whether Raheem Sterling should have taken a penalty, and maybe Raheem just didn't want to, and that's not a bad thing. Like, if not taking a penalty isn't like making you a coward or anything like that at all. You've got to remember, this is a guy that's just played 2 games back to back, 120 minutes worth in both games, and was fantastic against Denmark, and obviously had a bit of a tough game against Italy. But still, when it comes to a penalty shootout, he may just not have wanted to do so. Yeah, maybe Sancho should do a little bit better, and you've got a feel for Saka. But like, that's penalties, man. Like, that it's a bit about luck. It's a bit about chance. Jordan Pickford, bless him, mate, makes 2 saves in a penalty shootout, and normally that's enough to probably win you the shootout. And there's like a really nice video of him where he goes, obviously I think he realises that I need to save this penalty, and he says to himself, okay, no problem, which I thought was really, really good. And so, like, anyone that's really criticising the penalties, I think is a little bit too far, because sometimes in training you can score every penalty, but then when you're in a final of the European Championships in front of 60,000 people, in front of your own home, in front of your own fans, it changes things, and like, it's not as easy to say. Like, a Sunday League penalty is nowhere near comparable to that.
This is what Southgate had to say on Saka's decisive miss and the sort of guy that the young Arsenal man is.
We heal together as a team now, and we're there for them, and I know that 99% of the public will be as well, because they will appreciate how well they've played. Bukayo in particular has been an absolute star in this tournament. Incredible maturity, the way he's played. has brought a smile to so many people's faces. He's become such a hugely popular member of the group, and I know he's got everybody's support.
I wanted to make sure that we ended this on a slightly more positive note, so I'm going to go for an unsung hero, Zach, from you, and then we're going to talk about, some of the players that are still under the age of 23 that will still no doubt be playing under Southgate, who has confirmed that he will lead the side to Qatar, because I think the core of that side proves that we're going to be a real problem in the tournament next year. Now, my candidate for unsung hero, you've already touched upon Pickford, but I'm going to go for Kyle Walker. I mean, he only committed one foul in this whole tournament and was only dribbled past once at Euro 2020. And I think whether we played in a 3 or a 4, he was absolutely superb. And without his recovery pace at the back, I think we would have been in trouble much earlier in the tournament. Obviously, it proved that we were impregnable for the first, 4 or 5 games. But I think Kyle Walker had a tremendous tournament and not a lot of coverage about his tournament. So I wanted to throw that out there. What about you?
Yeah, I think you're right there. I think he had a tougher game against Croatia, and then because remember he got dropped for Reece James, and then he was back in the lineup, and from then he was fantastic onwards. So yeah, I completely agree. As you said, I mentioned Pickford. I think he needs to get a shout out. He had a mistake against Denmark, obviously with the free kick. Should probably do a bit better, but he kept 5 clean sheets in 7 games. He won Golden Gloves, and he was there when we needed him every single time. I think against Germany, against Timo Werner, he makes a fantastic save. He does so as well in this game against Italy. He's unfortunate to even probably concede. He pulls off a worldie of a save, and then you're just hoping one of the team gets rid of the ball. Unfortunately, it gets put into the back of the net. So I think he definitely deserves it as well. He's been fantastic, especially as well someone that I think a couple of seasons ago we would always be a bit worried about him in goal. But when he's playing in goal for England, and hopefully the same for Everton next season, he's got like a calmer head on his shoulders at the moment.
We're being critical at club level, and sometimes it's been warranted because his performances have wavered, haven't they? And his post shot XG and whatever, and his save percentages have been way down. But if this is how he's going to play moving forward, he's going to be some goalkeeper for Everton. Yeah, anyway.
And England.
Talking of England, Marcus Rashford, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Mason Mount, Declan Rice, Jadon Sancho, Reece James, Phil Foden, Saka, Greenwood, Bellingham, all under the age of 23. Like, that is stupid, isn't it? So I wanted to end it on that, positive, forward-looking, and let's just get behind England next time they play, because it was, this tournament, a massive step in the right direction. Yeah. Progress was made. People have come to the fore, whether that is, through their performances or through their personality. We've become much more tactically fluid, flexible. I put up on Twitter the last England squad that defeated Italy, and how far we've come in 10 years is absolutely outrageous in terms of our starting 11 and the depth and the quality that we have in our ranks. So a lot to be positive about. Like I said at the start of the show, if you want to use Football Daily's discount code for Manscaped's Stellar products, then it's appearing on screen right now. And use the link in the description below if you can't be bothered to manually input that. Zach, have you got any final words for us, mate? Anything to plug, maybe?
Get behind the team. It's been a great tournament, and I think we have to remember the positives. And of course, getting to a final, a team has to lose, and sadly that was England this time. But you know what happened who did Portugal beat in the Euros? They beat France, and then what did France go and do? They won the World Cup. So keep that in mind.
Exactly. Bye.